Sometimes, those we love most can take advantage of us the most profoundly. When they finally express their true thoughts, it can shatter everything. My name is Diane, and I am 68 years old. Before we begin, I would appreciate knowing where you are watching from. Please share your state or country in the comments below. Now, let me recount the week I dismantled my son's entire world after his wife made one comment too many. For 3 years, I believed I was building a legacy. My son Mark and his wife Ashley had two beautiful children, Emma, who is 5, and Lucas, who just turned 3. When Ashley became pregnant with Emma, they were living in a cramped apartment, both working entry-level jobs while grappling with significant student debt. As a mother, witnessing your child's struggles cuts deeper than any pain you may have experienced yourself. I spent 40 years building a successful catering company in Charleston, starting from scratch with a borrowed commercial kitchen and a dream. By the time I was ready to slow down, I had corporate contracts, wedding bookings scheduled 2 years in advance, and a reputation that held value. I was comfortable, more than comfortable. When Emma arrived, I made a significant decision. I sold my house, which my late husband Henry and I had filled with memories, and moved into the garage apartment behind Mark and Ashley's new home, a place I had helped them acquire. I justified this decision, believing I could assist with the baby, enabling them to save on childcare while allowing me to watch my grandchildren grow. However, my support extended beyond that. 6 months after Emma was born, I proposed an idea to Mark. I noticed Ashley struggling to find quality catering for corporate events at her company. The catering industry, which I knew well, was thriving in their area. I suggested starting a new branch of my catering business, something fresh that would be theirs. I would provide the capital, connections, recipes, training, everything. They would manage and build it, eventually securing their future. Mark was overwhelmed with emotion when I shared my proposal, expressing gratitude. Ashley smiled, but I sensed something in her eyes that I couldn't quite interpret. I dismissed it, attributing it to the stress of a new baby. I structured the business carefully, placing it in their names while retaining a percentage until they repaid my initial investment. Standard business practice. My lawyer even questioned why I wasn't protecting myself more, but I brushed him off. This was my son. This was family. The business flourished faster than I had anticipated. Within 18 months, they had steady corporate clients, a small team of servers, and bookings that kept them profitable. I worked alongside them, teaching Ashley everything I knew while observing Mark manage logistics and client relations. During the day, I managed their finances, planned menus, and dealt with suppliers. In the evenings, I picked up the kids from preschool, prepared dinner, bathed them, and read bedtime stories. I believed I was blessed, that I had purpose, that I was needed. I was unaware that I was merely convenient. My typical day began at 5:30 a.m. I would hear Lucas waking through the thin walls of my garage apartment, followed by Emma's footsteps heading to her parents' room. By 6 a.m., I was in their kitchen making breakfast while Mark and Ashley prepared for work. Pancakes, eggs, oatmeal, whatever the kids desired. I packed their lunches with little notes adorned with smiley faces and hearts. Ashley would come down, hair perfectly styled, makeup done, scrolling through her phone, offering a brief acknowledgement without looking up. "Thanks, Diane," she would say. Mark would grab coffee, kiss the kids, and they would both leave by 7:15 a.m. to manage the business I had built for them. I would take Emma to kindergarten by 8 a.m. and return to entertain Lucas until his preschool at 9:30 a.m. I had precisely 4 hours before pickups began again. I spent those 4 hours working for their business, unpaid. I negotiated with suppliers, revised menus, managed their finances, oversaw social media, and responded to client emails. I assured myself this was temporary. Once they were fully established, I could step back. However, businesses do not run themselves, and Mark and Ashley found something convenient. I was free labor. The afternoons blurred into a whirlwind of snacks, playground visits, and activity classes. I funded Emma's dance lessons, purchased Lucas's preschool supplies, took them shopping for new clothes, and canceled my own plans to care for them when they were sick. Mark and Ashley frequently texted me from client meetings or networking events, asking for assistance. Mom, can you handle bedtime? We have a tasting to oversee. Diane, we're running late from a consultation. Can you feed the kids? Would you mind watching them this weekend? It's a great opportunity for us to attend this industry conference. I never declined. What kind of grandmother says no? In the evenings, I would hear them through the walls, laughing, watching television, living their lives while I cleaned up dinner dishes and folded their children's laundry in my small apartment. Occasionally, Mark would peek his head in, expressing gratitude. Thanks for everything today, Mom. You're the best. Then he would be gone again. Financially, the business was thriving. I would see the bank statements while managing their finances, noting revenue climbing each quarter. They purchased new cars, took vacations, and renovated their master bathroom. Meanwhile, I resided in a 400-square-foot apartment with a bathroom so small I could barely turn around, watching my savings slowly deplete from the additional expenses I covered for my grandchildren. I justified it all, believing this was family, that this was what grandmothers do. Henry would have done the same had he been alive. We always believed in helping our children succeed. I simply never anticipated my help would go unnoticed. The first significant crack in our relationship appeared one Tuesday afternoon. After spending the morning resolving a supplier crisis, saving them from losing a major corporate account, I called Mark to inform him. "Oh, great," he replied, distracted. "Hey, can you grab some milk on your way to get Lucas? We're out." No thanks for saving a 5-figure contract, just a request for milk. I should have recognized the pattern then, but love often blinds us to the truth. The disrespect began subtly, like poison seeping into water. You don't notice until you've been drinking it for months. Ashley stopped expressing gratitude altogether. I would arrive at 7 a.m., and she would hand me a list of errands. "Could you pick up my dry cleaning? Lucas needs new shoes. We're out of that organic almond milk I like." Commands, not requests. I had become staff. When I attempted to discuss business decisions, Ashley would cut me off. "We've got it handled, Diane." Yet I would receive frantic calls when something went awry, expected to drop everything to rectify their mistakes. I renegotiated failed contracts, personally delivered orders when their driver quit unexpectedly, and stayed up until 2 a.m., redesigning their website after they hired someone who produced subpar work. Mark began avoiding me. He would come home, greet the kids, and retreat to his office. When I tried to discuss the business or inquire about repayment schedules for my investment, he would say, "Not now, Mom. I'm exhausted." Yet he never seemed too exhausted to go golfing with clients every Sunday. The grandchildren still brought me joy, but even that was changing. Emma began saying things that pierced my heart. "Mommy says we have to be quiet because Grandma lives here and she'll tell on us." Tell on them for what? For being children in their own home? I had never complained about noise. I had only loved those children with all my heart. One evening, I needed to leave early for a doctor's appointment, which I had mentioned 3 times that week. When I reminded Ashley that morning, she rolled her eyes. "Fine, I guess we'll have to figure it out," as if my health were an inconvenience to their schedule. I started noticing how they spoke about me to others. I overheard Ashley on the phone with her mother. "Yeah, she's always here. It's actually really helpful." Not, "She's wonderful with the kids," or "We're so grateful," just helpful, as if I were merely an appliance. At Emma's dance recital, I sat alone while Mark and Ashley posed for family photos with other parents. When Emma ran to me after her performance, Ashley called out, "Emma, come here. We need pictures." I watched my granddaughter torn between us, and Ashley's expression when Emma hesitated made something within me crack. The breaking point was approaching, though I was unaware of it at the time. I began tracking my hours, not because I intended to take action, but to confirm I wasn't imagining things. In 1 week, I logged 63 hours of childcare, 18 hours of business work, and another 12 hours of housework and errands for them. A total of 93 hours for a family that barely acknowledged my existence unless they required something. My sister called from Phoenix. "You sound tired, Di. Are they taking care of you?" I laughed it off. "Oh, grandchildren keep you young." "Do they appreciate everything you're doing?" I couldn't answer. The silence spoke volumes. "Diane," she said quietly, You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm. But I wasn't ready to hear that yet. The day my world shattered began like any other Wednesday. I dropped Emma at school, took Lucas to his music class, and returned to their house to prep vegetables for dinner. Ashley had texted me, asking to prepare her chicken recipe for a client tasting the next day. Free labor again, but I complied. While chopping onions in the kitchen, I overheard Ashley's voice from the home office upstairs during a video call. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. Their house simply had poor acoustics. No, seriously, Jennifer, it's the perfect setup. We don't pay for childcare at all. Mark's mom lives in the garage apartment, so she's basically on call 24/7, free babysitting whenever we need it. My hand froze on the knife. Does she mind? Another voice asked. Ashley laughed genuinely. I mean, what's she going to do? She moved here to be close to the grandkids, and honestly, she doesn't really have anything else going on. No friends here, no hobbies. She's just kind of there, waiting to be useful. The onions slipped from my fingers. That's brilliant, Jennifer replied. My mother-in-law wants to help, but she lives 3 hours away. Oh, it gets better, Ashley continued. She basically runs half the business stuff too. Mark's mom started the catering company originally, so she knows all the suppliers, all the tricks. She does our books, manages inventory, handles problems. We barely have to think about the back end. Wait, so she babysits and works for free? Pretty much. I mean, she has a stake in the business technically, but it's complicated. Some percentage until we pay her back the startup costs, but honestly, Mark says we can probably restructure that eventually. His mom isn't exactly business savvy with legal stuff. She just wanted to help us. My vision blurred. I pressed my palm against the counter for support. You're living the dream, Ash. Free childcare, free business help, and you get to be the boss, right? Ashley's voice was gleeful. Mark feels guilty sometimes, but I keep telling him we didn't force her to move here. She wanted to be involved in the kids' lives. This is what grandmothers do. And honestly, at her age, what else would she be doing? We're giving her purpose. Purpose. As if I were a charity case, someone they were generously accommodating. How much do you think you're saving on childcare alone? Oh God, easily $3,000 a month. Plus, she buys the kids' stuff constantly, clothes, toys, activities. We basically have no childcare expenses at all and minimal kid expenses. It's insane. You're just free childcare to them. The words echoed in my mind, though Ashley hadn't stated them so directly. She had implied worse. She had reduced my love, my sacrifices, my entire existence to a convenient financial arrangement. And Mark, my son, felt guilty sometimes, but not guilty enough to stop it. I walked out of the kitchen and straight to my apartment. I didn't finish the vegetables. I didn't wait for Lucas to wake from his nap. I was done waiting, done being useful, done being invisible. I sat in my cramped apartment, staring at the cheerful yellow walls I had painted to make the space feel less suffocating. 3 years of my life. 3 years of believing I was building something beautiful with my family, and all I had been was a free resource to exploit. The hurt was physical, radiating from my chest to my fingertips, causing them to shake. I had sacrificed my home, my independence, my entire life. For what? To be discussed like hired help who didn't realize she wasn't getting paid? Lucas began crying through the monitor I kept on my nightstand, a gift from Ashley, so I could hear if they needed anything. Translation, so I could be on call, even in my own space. I looked at the video feed showing my grandson standing in his crib with tears on his little face, calling, "Gamma, Gamma." My heart fractured in 2 directions. I loved those children desperately, but their parents had weaponized that love. I turned off the monitor. Ashley was home. She could handle her own child for once. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. Ashley, can you get Lucas? He's crying. I stared at the message, then turned my phone face down and did something I had never done before. I ignored her. The phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again, followed by a text from Mark. Mom, Ashley says you're not answering. Everything okay? Now they cared if I was okay, now that I wasn't performing my duties. I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder containing all the business documents. I had been meticulous with record keeping. Every contract, every agreement, every email, the original business formation documents clearly indicated I owned 40% until repayment of my initial $200,000 investment plus agreed upon interest. They had repaid exactly $0. More importantly, the business license, the LLC formation, and even the bank accounts were established with my assistance. In my attention to detail, I had ensured certain safeguards were in place. They had signed everything I put in front of them, never anticipating I would need to protect myself from my own family. I opened my email and composed a new message to Robert Chen. No, I needed to use a different name. I opened my email again and addressed Robert Martinez, the business lawyer who had assisted me in establishing the original company decades ago. Robert, I need to discuss a legal matter urgently regarding the business I started for my son. I need to know what my options are for ending my involvement completely and recovering my investment. His response arrived within an hour. Can you come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m.? Bring all documentation. I confirmed the appointment and then opened a new document listing everything, every hour of childcare at local going rates, every business task I had performed valued at consulting fees, and every expense I had covered for the children, the house, for their convenience. The sums were staggering. Even conservatively, they owed me over $400,000 in unpaid labor alone. However, I wasn't interested in billing them for love. I just wanted out, and I wanted what was legally mine. That night, Mark knocked on my door. I didn't answer. He knocked again. Mom, we need to talk. Mark's voice was uncertain. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. He looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. Ashley said you ignored her messages today, and you didn't watch Lucas during his nap. His tone was accusatory, as if I had shirked a shift at a job I didn't remember applying for. I had something to take care of, but you didn't tell anyone. We couldn't find you. Ashley was in the middle of a conference call. Ashley was home. She's his mother. She could handle it. Mark blinked, surprised by my tone. I had never pushed back before. Okay, but usually you drop everything to make our lives easier. I know, I replied, maintaining my level tone. I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I'll be unavailable from 9 to noon. You'll need to arrange your own childcare. Wait, what? Mom, we have a huge tasting tomorrow. We both need to be there. Then I suggest you hire a babysitter. His face flushed. We can't just hire someone last minute. That's expensive. Yes, I said quietly. Childcare is expensive, approximately $3,000 a month in this area, I believe. The color drained from his face, indicating he understood precisely what they were saving and what I was worth in dollars and cents. You heard us, he said finally. Ashley's call yesterday. I heard enough. Mom, look, Ashley didn't mean it like it sounded. Don't. I held up my hand. Don't insult me by pretending I misunderstood. I heard exactly what she meant. I've been convenient. Free labor, free childcare, free business help, free everything, and you knew it. It's not like that. What's it like then, Mark? Tell me. I waited, but he stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. That's what I thought. I have an appointment tomorrow. I'm unavailable. Figure it out. I closed the door on my son's shocked face. The next morning, I dressed in the navy suit I had worn to business meetings in my previous life. For the first time in 3 years, I felt like myself. Robert Martinez's office was downtown, a 30-minute drive away. I didn't leave a note, I simply left. Robert, now in his 70s, but still sharp, reviewed every document I brought. His expression grew increasingly grave. Diane, I'm going to be blunt. You have significant legal standing here. You own 40% of this business. You're listed as guarantor on major contracts. The repayment terms they violated give you grounds to call the entire loan immediately due. What does that mean practically? It means you could force them to pay you $200,000 plus 3 years of agreed interest, roughly $240,000 total, immediately. If they can't pay, which I suspect they cannot, you could force a dissolution of the business and liquidation of assets. My hands trembled at everything. They would lose everything. They've paid you in wealth on your investment. Legally, you're entitled to this. I considered Emma and Lucas, but then Ashley's laughter echoed in my mind. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe button. You'll want to see how this ends. What are my options? I asked Robert. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. You have three primary paths. 1. You formally demand immediate repayment of your investment with interest. 2. You dissolve your partnership and force a sale of business assets. 3. You exercise your ownership rights and take operational control. What does option 3 mean exactly? The operating agreement states that as a 40% owner and founding member, you have equal authority over major business decisions. You could legally lock them out of accounts, revoke their access to suppliers that contract with you specifically, and restructure operations. Essentially, you could take back what you built. I reflected on this. Mark and Ashley had clients, yes, but those clients came from my reputation, my recipes, my decades of relationships. The business name itself carried my legacy, Legacy Catering and Events. I had insisted on that name, wanting them to build something lasting. They had built it all right, on my back. If I go with option 3, how quickly could it happen? Robert smiled, though it wasn't a kind smile. With your authorization, I could have preliminary paperwork filed by the end of business today. You'd need to act decisively, though. Change passwords, secure accounts, inform key vendors. It would be abrupt. They would be blindsided. Yes, I said, recalling all the times I had been blindsided. Every dismissive comment, every ignored boundary, every presumption that I would comply. The image of Ashley laughing about me to her friend replayed in my mind. Let's proceed with option 3. The next 2 hours were a whirlwind of signing documents, making phone calls, and setting things in motion. Robert had a colleague who specialized in business disputes. Within the hour, formal notices were being prepared. By noon, I had changed the passwords on every account I could access, and there were many. The business email, the vendor portal, the website backend, the main banking account requiring 2 signatures. I drove to the commercial kitchen they rented, where I had taught Ashley every technique she knew. I had a key, as I always had since I opened up twice a week to prep for large events. I entered and began a systematic inventory of every piece of equipment, every ingredient, every item I had purchased with my initial investment. I photographed everything, time-stamped and documented. Then I sent an email to their 3 largest suppliers. This is Diane Foster, founding partner of Legacy Catering. Please note that effective immediately, all contracts and credit arrangements require my personal approval. No orders should be processed without my written authorization. I copied Robert on everything. By 2 p.m., my phone was inundated with notifications. 17 missed calls from Mark, 9 from Ashley. Text messages scrolled past faster than I could read them. Mark, Mom, what are you doing? Ashley, you can't just lock us out of our own business. The suppliers are saying we can't order for tomorrow's event. Ashley, this is insane. Call us now. Mom, please, we can talk about this. I turned off my phone and drove to the bank. The business account had $47,000 in it, payment from a large corporate event the previous week. An event I had planned, prepped, and managed while they merely showed up to smile at clients. I withdrew my authorized amount, every penny I was legally entitled to as an operating partner, covering business expenses. Mark and Ashley would have to figure out how to run a catering company with no food, no supplies, and no money. I spent that afternoon in a downtown hotel room, needing space and distance from their panic. My phone remained off. Let them spiral. Let them feel the ground disappear beneath their feet, just as I had felt it disappear beneath mine. But I couldn't stay away from the grandchildren forever. At 5 p.m., I turned my phone back on. I had 63 missed calls, 42 text messages, and 3 voicemails from Mark that escalated from anger to desperation, nearing tears. There was also a message from Emma's school. Miss Foster, Emma wasn't picked up at dismissal. We've been trying to reach her parents for over an hour. Please call us back immediately. My heart stopped. Those children were innocent in all this. I called the school back instantly. This is Diane Foster. I'm on my way right now. I arrived to find Emma sitting in the office with a teacher, trying not to cry. Grandma, Mommy and Daddy forgot me. They hadn't forgotten. They had been too preoccupied with the implosion of their business to remember their own daughter. I signed her out, buckled her into my car, and drove to their house. Lucas was with a neighbor. Ashley had apparently banged on doors, begging for emergency childcare that morning. I collected Lucas too. The neighbor, a woman named Patricia, gave me a knowing look. Everything all right, Diane? It will be. Inside Mark and Ashley's house was chaos, papers everywhere. Ashley was on her laptop, frantically typing, while Mark was on the phone, nearly shouting at someone. They both froze when I walked in with the children. Where were you? Ashley's voice was shrill. Do you have any idea what you've done? Mommy, you forgot me at school, Emma said in a small voice. Ashley's face crumpled for just a moment before hardening again. Go to your room, Emma. Grandma and I need to talk. No, I said firmly. You need to take care of your children. I'm not here to babysit. You can't just destroy our business, Mark exclaimed, shaking. Mom, this is insane. Whatever Ashley said, whatever you think you heard. Finally, I set my purse down. I heard that I'm just a convenient resource, free labor with no other purpose in life, someone to exploit while you build wealth and take vacations. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I've given you 3 years of my life, and you've given me nothing but contempt. Did you know you owe me for childcare alone? At going rates, roughly $8,000? That doesn't even account for business consulting, bookkeeping, or the fact that you've never repaid a single dollar of my $200,000 investment. Ashley laughed, but it was tinged with hysteria. You can't bill us for being a grandmother. That's not how family works. You're absolutely right. Families shouldn't operate that way. Families should be based on love and respect, but you've turned it into a transaction, so now we're having a transaction. We have an event tomorrow, Mark's voice cracked. A corporate client, 50 people. They've paid a deposit. We can't access our accounts. We can't order supplies. You should have thought of that before deciding I was disposable. The silence was deafening. What do you want? Ashley's voice was flat, defeated. Money? Fine, we'll pay you back. With what money? I have your bank account information. Remember, I do your books. You have $47,000 in business accounts, most of which you owe for upcoming vendor payments. You have $23,000 in personal savings. You finance both your cars. Your house has a mortgage. Where exactly is this payment coming from? Mark sank onto the couch, head in his hands. So what? You're just going to destroy everything? Everything we built? Everything I built? I corrected him quietly. I created those recipes. I cultivated those supplier relationships over 40 years. I brought the clients through my reputation. You just wore nice clothes and smiled. That's not true. Ashley stood up, fists clenched. We worked hard. We grew this business with my foundation, with my knowledge, with my free labor. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes. I tracked my hours for the past month alone. 73 hours. Childcare, business work, housework for your family. That's more than a full-time job for zero pay and zero appreciation. So this is revenge, Mark's voice was hollow. You're punishing us. No, I'm recovering what's mine and removing myself from a toxic situation. There's a difference. The door burst open. Ashley's mother, Cheryl, stormed in with a furious expression. What is happening? Ashley called me crying about some insane. She stopped when she saw me. Diane, what did you do? I stopped working for free. They're family. You don't charge family. You're right. Family shouldn't charge family. Family also shouldn't exploit family. But here we are. Cheryl turned to Ashley. Can't you just apologize? Work this out? Ashley's jaw tightened. I'm not apologizing for stating facts. She did offer to help with childcare. She did choose to move here. Oh, stop, Mark's voice cut through. Just stop, Ashley. He looked at me with something that resembled recognition finally breaking through. She's right. We took advantage. I took advantage of my own mother. Mark, Ashley began, but he interrupted. I heard what you said to Jennifer. I was in the room. I heard you laugh about how we don't pay for anything, how Mom just exists to be useful. And I didn't say anything because it was convenient for me too. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. The apology hung in the air. Part of me wanted to accept it, to embrace him as I had throughout his life. But apologies don't erase 3 years of systematic disrespect. I appreciate that, Mark. I do. But words aren't enough anymore. What do you want from us? Ashley demanded. I pulled out the papers Robert had prepared. I want formal dissolution of my partnership, my investment returned with interest within 90 days, and all my personal property removed from the business. I'll provide transition consultation for 60 days at $150 per hour. the going rate for catering consultants. After that, you're on your own. That will bankrupt us. Ashley's face drained of color. Then you'll learn what it's like to start from nothing, just as I did 40 years ago. The legal proceedings took 8 days. 8 days during which Mark and Ashley scrambled to save what they could. They had to cancel 3 events, losing deposits and reputation. Their corporate client threatened to sue for breach of contract. 2 of their staff members quit when paychecks bounced. Robert expedited the paperwork faster than I had anticipated. By the end of the week, Legacy Catering and Events ceased to exist. The business was dissolved and assets liquidated. Mark and Ashley retained the client list and the company name. I didn't want them anyway, but they had to start entirely from scratch, borrowing money from Ashley's parents to cover their basic startup costs again. They couldn't repay me the full amount immediately, so we structured a payment plan, $2,000 monthly for the next 10 years. Robert assured me it was enforceable and realistic given their income potential. It wasn't the full value of what they had taken from me, but it was acknowledgement, legal, binding acknowledgement. I moved to a small condo in Mount Pleasant, 20 minutes away, far enough for boundaries, close enough to still see Emma and Lucas. Despite everything, I loved those children. The first month was challenging. Emma cried, asking why Grandma didn't live with them anymore. I gently explained that sometimes adults need their own space, but I would always be her grandmother, always love her. Mark brought the kids to visit every Sunday. He was different now, quieter, more thoughtful. He apologized 17 more times in various ways. I accepted each one, but maintained my boundaries firmly. We were rebuilding slowly and carefully. Ashley didn't come to those visits. We had one final conversation in which she said through tears, "I never meant to make you feel used, but intentions don't erase impact." We remained civil, polite, nothing more. The business they rebuilt was smaller and scrappier. They performed most of the work themselves now, learning what real effort entailed. I heard through Mark that they had to sell one of their cars to make payments. Their house went up for sale. They were downsizing. Good. Let them understand what sacrifice means. 6 months after I left, my sister visited from Phoenix. We sat on my condo balcony watching the sunset, and she squeezed my hand. "You look different, lighter." I was lighter. I had started painting again, something I had abandoned years ago. I joined a book club and made friends who knew me as Diane, not as someone's mother, grandmother, or free employee. I existed as myself again. Mark's check arrived like clockwork each month, $2,000, a reminder that my worth had value, that my time mattered, that I wasn't merely a resource to be drained dry. I saw Emma and Lucas regularly now on my terms during scheduled visits where I was grandma, not unpaid childcare. I took them for ice cream, to the park, to the aquarium. I loved them fiercely, but when the visits concluded, I returned to my own space, my own life, my own peace, and I had never felt more free. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, filled with love and respect.